Hello guys, how's it going? Whitestorm here, and today we're playing nothing. We're actually going to do a little thing to try and help out one of my subscribers, Don Kraken. Is it Don Kraken or Don McCracken? Let me just double check. I do have sometimes got trouble with names. And he asked me basically he had some settings that have some issues, and he thinks he might have lost them. So if I just go down to Video Manager here, got in contact with me last night at work. I couldn't do anything about it straight away, but here is Don the Kraken Wit. So we're going to try and release the Kraken from his bind, and he asked me all sorts of different bits and pieces, and basically I'm going to go through my settings and show you guys how I render a film or a movie or a let's play. So the first thing I do is I create a new kind of project within Sony Movie Studio Platinum 13, which I've got from obviously from Steam, and I make sure that I've got it selected as match media settings to a film or a previous recording that I know is at a stable frame rate. I've got it set at 60 frames per second. I know for a fact that that's the game settings of Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. So I just use that as my kind of benchmark setting. And as you can see down here, the video is 1920 by 1080p, and it's 60 frames per second progressive. And then I have obviously my folder set up to where I'm going to save bits and pieces like that. So I click OK on that. I've got it set up to the European standard kind of thing, just because I think that's more for making CDs and DVDs. I don't really play about with that. So the first thing I do is I'm going to go to my desktop, where I basically keep all of my bits and pieces that I use all the time. And this here is my it says new project, new intro project, but it's not new now. It's been a while. And as you can see on there, I've got my intro, and I use that every single time. I've rendered that separately, basically just because I know I'm going to use it all the time. So I've created that as a little film which I can drop and drag whenever I like, and I can make that bigger, and there you go. It's going to do that every time. So I'll come out of that. So after I've done that, there are a few things that you can do. This is going to render it on this miniature screen for me at 30 frames per second. And you can change that here by messing around with the settings and things like that. You can actually move and change those settings, make it bigger, make it smaller. You know, there are plenty of different ways you can play about with that. You can add the grid to make sure your film is centered. All of the good stuff. It's a normal kind of thing. I'm going to turn the grid off because I don't like it, if I can remember how. Alright, well, I guess we're going to leave it there because I've forgotten how to turn it off. There we go, turned it off. Brilliant. So, the next thing I do is I go to the film that I've just recorded, and if I bring that across here, you can see I've got tons and tons of films and bits and pieces. And this one here is the one I've most recently done. So I'm going to drop and drag that straight on to the timeline. And that's going to occupy the video track, and it's going to occupy the soundtrack. That will then build all the peaks that I have set up, so that I know when I've started speaking and all the rest of it. And then as soon as that's done, it doesn't take too long for me, because this is only a 15-16 minute long video. That is going to change, of course, and I'm going to zoom right in here. And I know that that's where I started because I can see the peaks on the stereo thing. So I'm going to trim the start of that, drag that across, and if you bring that right across there, you can do crossfades and stuff like that. If I just play that.
Hello guys, how's it going? Whitestorm here, and welcome.
That gives you a 1.2 kind of second fade that goes straight into it, and I don't often do that. But in this event, why not? I think I will do that, just to show you how it's done. Now, I tend to try and make sure that my volume in my kind of thing is all the same, because I sometimes record more than once. I sometimes have to edit the speech because I get my mucking furs waddles, things like that. So if I'm using my different software, I'm doing it at different times of the day. Because obviously I've got a young baby. Sometimes I have to stop and go and feed the baby, or shush her up or something. So what I'll come and do is I'll come and normalize it, and quite often there are little bits and pieces that it can not that are different levels, and I've got many different recordings. This particular case, I've managed to do this entire take in one. So it says that it's 0.1 dBs too loud, so it's going to reduce that to a decent level. So not too much of a big difference. And as you can see, that is our entire movie effectively. But I shall play it briefly. Hello guys, how's it going? Whitestorm here, and welcome to another episode on Banished. Yeah, and as you can see guys, I'm not too upset with the quality of that. I'm talking nice and clearly and all the rest of it. So I'm going to keep that how it is. Now the next thing that I do is, I'm actually part of a network, MGN, and I'm going to drop and drag that into the end of the timeline here. But the problem that I've got is, I think I finished the game and said my bye-byes and all the rest of it, and I need to make sure that I get in, and I'll see you again guys in the next episode. Bye-bye. There we go. So if I trim the end of that, I know that that's perfectly finished. I'm going to not bother fading that in or anything like that, because the reason why is, you might have seen, bye-bye, I want it to be really, really in your face and ba-boom, perfect. So, and then the final part of my kind of rendering process that I go through is to go to my Whitestorm outro, click OK on that one, and this is my template, another movie that I've made. There you go. That music there, as you can see, is literally, it's just like a small snippet of a song that I found on some free song sites, and I've literally looped it over and over and over and over again. Took a long time to do that, but I think it's a good effect. And that's literally, I made this text and this entire film using a loop video with a particle effect on it, and I just wrote on it in a font, using like a new line, just insert text media, the same way I did with my first ever tutorial, and then just created that movie with a little bit of animation going from left to right. But the reason why I have this space here is because obviously I upload a lot of films, and what I do is I tend to place my last one in there. So if I go to my YouTube area here, what you should be able to see is I've got tons and tons and tons and tons of films. So I think this time what we'll do is we'll link Arc 6, Episode 6. We'll drop and drag that one in. So if I just move that out of the way, I'll zoom out a little bit on here. Arcs Episode 6, drop and drag that in. And as you see, there is an absolute mass, and that is a fully rendered film, by the way, guys. But we don't want to use all of that in this space. I just want to select a little area. So if I drag that across and I find an area that I like, probably around about here somewhere, I'll trim the start, go to group, remove from group, delete the sound, because I want the soundtrack of the music on here. And I'm just going to drag that across to here, zoom out a bit, drag that across, come to the end here, and then trim the end, so I've only got that area left. And then I'm going to place the kind of time frame selector. I'm going to zoom in a little touch, right click, and I want to video event pan and crop. And I'm just going to move that out of the way, zoom out on here, and there you go. And what I should have is if I turn this down on my volume, there we go. Now it's going to be it takes a little time to render itself and get all happy, especially as I'm trying to record this at the same time, so it's going to jump about for me, but I don't mind that too much, because I know that when it's rendered it'll be perfectly fine. Little tips and tricks, you can do bits and pieces to this to make it interesting. So if I click on here and I add another track, another video track at the top, and then I can insert text media like so, and then I can write check out my, I might make check out, I'll make every single first letter a big one. Check out my ARC series, and then highlight it all, and I'm going to find myself a font that I've once upon a time downloaded from dafont.com. You can't use all of them because some of them are not free, some of them are somebody's own creations. So guys, you do have to make sure that the ones that you choose are free to use. But let me quickly have a look, see if there's anything I can think of. You got to know the names of them. There's a new one that I've got recently. I'm going to reduce the size of this to 20 so we can see it. Check out, and I'm going to check out. Where's my? Check out my ARC series, and then I'm just going to center that, I think. And I'm going to change the color of the text to something bright. That's pretty cool. And I'm going to also, if I go to outline, I want to outline the text ever so slightly. I don't want too much of a width. And I'm going to keep the outline white. I'm just going to give it the tiniest outline. As you can see, if I push that up, you can see the flashing just a little bit. That looks about right to my eye, and I'm going to reduce that down. Outlining the text is really important, I think. The shadow, I'm going to offset it ever so slightly. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to just increase the size of this, just so that I can see it. And in fact, what I'll do before I increase the size of that, I'm going to place this here so that I can see where it is I'm working. I'm going to bring this down, make it massive. Now this isn't the final product, obviously, and I think the outline I'm just going to change ever so slightly. I'm going to reduce that down just a little touch. That looks about right to me. And then the shadow, I want a little tiny bit of shadow, but I don't necessarily want it black. I'm thinking if I pull this up to here, slightly darker blue. I want the shadow itself to be slightly transparent so the stuff underneath it works. And I'm going to enable that shadow. Now you see the glow. You can actually see the picture through the glow, and that's exactly what I want. I'm not happy with how it's offset. I'm going to make it slightly better by pulling this in a little bit less. There we go. I don't want the offset to be that far away, but I do want it to feel a little bit like it's hovering above. There we go. I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to turn off the shadow here, and the location is the important part. You can actually drop and drag it and move it and things like that. I want that, I don't know, maybe right in the center. I think that's about right. And guys, I think that is about me on that one. but I can actually animate it so that it's got the same animation as the one I've got, and it's going to move at the same amount as well because it starts at the same time. So is it that one? I can't remember. Let's press play. Let it think about it for a minute. Let's pull up, drag that all the way along. That will then make it so that it lasts for the same amount of time. Yeah, that is right. Let's move that up ever so slightly to about there. Bring it to the beginning. Yeah, and as you see, it should start rolling straight across at the same time. Now, obviously, because I'm recording with my recording software and I'm trying to render it and show you, it's going to be a bit jerky for me. It doesn't help the fact that I've in fact got it on the best possible setting. But I think that'll do nicely. And guys, obviously you'll be able to see this when I render the final film on my Banished series. So there's another interesting and cool thing that I quite often do, and that's I add my social media kind of links, and I've made a movie as well, guys. If I bring across this here, enlarging it, this is a whole bunch of the stuff that I've created in the past. And I've got something here called the Icon Movie Overlay, and this is a movie that I've made in Sony Movie Maker itself, and I've rendered it once again as a kind of template, and it's just black screen kind of movie. And if I place it here, I'm just going to remove the sound, because even though there's no sound, I don't want the clutter. So click on that, remove it. It's literally, if I just play it for you, it's a couple of icons that I've nicked off the internet and I've put my name next to it, and all my social media bits and pieces, but it's on a black background. So if I place that here, we've got the film going on merrily, and then that's going to stop me from...
That is the weirdest thing.
You're not going to see what I'm doing, and I want that to be overlaid. So what I do is I just zoom in, I right click on it, video event effects, and here you've got this handy dandy Sony Chroma key, which is perfect. I'm going to highlight that, click OK. I'm going to go to the color, use the eyedrop tool and click on that, and all of a sudden it all becomes see-through. And all you need to do really is make sure that the black is different from any other color, and then it's not going to mysteriously remove, like for instance the YouTube part of it, because the YouTube is actually gray, whereas the black is obviously fully black. So that kind of enables you to overlay your film that you want overlaid on top. And I tend to place that at the end, and if I copy that as well, I often put one at the beginning of the film as well. It's going to go where you place your cursor. So yeah, there we go. I've got it straight at the very beginning. So my movie that I made.
Hello guys, how's it going? Whitestorm here, and welcome to another episode on Banished.
And then this
I will admit, guys, I have actually attempted to record this episode a few times, but unfortunately.
And there you go, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been slightly educational for you, and I hope it's helped. It's just a few bits and tips, see how it goes. And I think the final thing that we need to do before we call it a day is make the movie. And I'll just take you through my rendering process. I click Make Movie, and I save it to my hard drive. I don't do any fancy stuff. I go to the advanced options, and what I've got is my own format that I've made up myself. I've copied this AVCHD 1920 by 1080p 60i template that's already there, and what I've done is it didn't have the right audio for me, it didn't have everything that I wanted, so I've increased the video frames per second to 60 frames per second. I've increased the audio to the top possible audio that I could possibly have, and then I have every single video that I've ever created saved on one of my external hard drives, which I've been showing you recently, and this is going to be called Banished. And I can't remember what we're on now, episode 6 or 7? But let me just double check on my other screen. Banished episode 4 or 5. Yeah, it's banished episode 7. There we go. Banished D7, and it saves as a .m2ts. That's to do with Sony. I just save it as the normal kind of Sony one because I think it gives me a good output. And the estimated file size, ignore that completely because it's not true. It's like Windows time, loading time. It's never true. And then I just click render. And guys, I'm not going to show you the finished product because it's going to take probably about 40 minutes for that to render. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and guys, I will see you again in the next video. Bye bye.